Welcome to the Yellow Jacket Experience. I'm your host, Seth Dussault, the voice of the Yellow Jackets. And as part of Athletic Training Month, we have Caban on our podcast this week. Chris, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good, Seth. How are you?
Doing fantastic. It's been a lot of fun to get to know the athletic trainers even more, even though obviously we spend a lot of time around each other. But I want to start at the beginning, going back to you as a little kid. Probably, I would assume, into sports like most kids are. What sports did you play when you were younger? How far did you end up going with them?
So, I think at an early age, I gravitated towards basketball. My older brother always played. He's 4 years older than me, so every time he'd be outside shooting hoops, I just wanted to be like that. And yeah, basketball was one of the early memories, having it on my TV. Always remember a lot of baseball growing up as well. My dad is really big on baseball, big Yankee fan. And then football later on in life, like maybe when I got to early elementary, around middle school, I started playing football. Basketball and football I kind of took into like high school. I never really went past that, but I'll still try and play here and there, like intramurals or just pick up games. Try and stay active. What was that?
I was gonna say who were some of the athletes that other your brother obviously, but other than your brother, who were some of the athletes as a kid that you looked up to or wanted to emulate or just really enjoyed watching playing?
Tracy McGrady.
T-Mac, that's a good choice.
Yeah, T-Mac was a big one for me. I knew I was never going to be that tall or that athletic, but, it was just fun to watch, man. He could just do a little bit of everything, and I always wanted to emulate my game in that way where, maybe I'm not shooting the ball well, but I could still play some defense, make some passes, and I feel like he brought a little bit of everything to the table. And for football, I was always big on Jerome Bettis. I'm a big Steelers fan. And he was always kind of like a heavier set guy. And when I was a kid, I was a chubby kid. I wasn't the most athletic looking. And he kind of inspired me where you could still be, you might not be this tip-top physique kind of guy, but you could still get the job done and be very efficient at your job. So those two I've always gravitated to pretty heavily.
So how did you end up making the choice to get into athletic training as a career? Like for me, I know what I do was a way to be around sports, even though, like you said, I'm not athletic either by any stretch of the imagination. Anybody who's seen me play basketball knows that. Was that part of it, or was there something else that drove you toward athletic training as something that you wanted to do with your life?
So when I was in high school, like my senior year, I tore my meniscus, so I had to get surgery on that. And that kind of introduced me to more of the PT side of an orthopedic side of athletics. Because before I thought, you play sports and that was kind of it. And getting hurt showed me that there's another side that you can still be involved with sports. So I always kind of knew I wanted to do something along that line. So when I went to college, I went to community college at first, and I just took like any classes that kind of fell into the medical field, like all those prereqs. And then I went back to my PT days, and I'm like, oh, well, how can I get into this? And discovered athletic training, and I literally just Googled athletic training schools in Connecticut, and I stumbled across Central Connecticut State University. And yeah, that's all she wrote. From there, I kind of just fell in love with the profession.
Now, in your time at Central Connecticut, were there any particular professors that you felt were really impactful on you in becoming a good athletic trainer, or people that maybe you even still now reach out to for advice or things like that?
Yeah, our main professors who were also like our head trainers, Kathy Pirog and Tom McCarthy, and also Paul Manwaring. Sorry if I'm butchering your last name, Paul. I'm sorry. Never used to get that one right. But those three, yeah, they kind of helped shape pretty much all of us to, be great athletic trainers. They've been in this profession for so long, and just seeing their passion and the way they could, influence kids' lives without even doing too much, a simple ice pack or evaluation or just showing that the athletes that you care. And they really expressed that throughout my time at Central. It just influenced me to be, the best that I could be at my job.
You got to start your athletic training career at Amherst College. What was that experience like for you, those first couple years being in the field and working with a college athletic program?
I mean, it was cool. Like, it was definitely a bit different from Central, being like a Division 1 program where athletics kind of, is the kind of the main thing on campus. I mean, academics are also important, but most D1s athletics, kind of trumps academics in a way. Where at Amherst, it was like the complete opposite. Is like those students are students first and athletes second, like to the T. So it was a bit of a change. It was a bit of a culture shock as well. Wasn't quite as diverse as CCSU was, so it was a little bit different for me. But I learned a lot. Just kind of just getting in the field and being on my own. Having teams for my own, and just getting hands on with athletes, surgical patients, and things of that such. So I did learn a lot in my time there, how to be a professional.
What attracted you to AIC and got you to want to make that jump from Amherst to AIC when you did a couple of years ago?
So to be honest, the first thing was just closeness. I mean, I still live in Connecticut, so that was one factor. It was like, this is Springfield. I'm not driving an hour away to Amherst every day. And then second, diversity was big for me. Like I mentioned earlier, in AIC, we have students from all over the world. So that really attracted me in the sense that like I just like to be involved in different cultures. I like to meet people from all walks of life, and I thought AIC provided a good opportunity for that. And it was a Division 2 sport, a little more competitive than some D3 programs. So I do like the competitiveness of it, where the athletes want to be athletes and they want to get better and they want to be better. So that also attracted me as well to AIC.
So what kind of things have you learned at AIC, given the diversity of the cultures that are here with the teams and athletes, as you've mentioned, from all over the country, all over the world? I think we had something like 35 or so different countries represented on our teams, going through all of them.
Um, I think just learning how to interact with the different people from different countries. Sometimes their mannerisms aren't the same, or maybe you might tell a joke that someone that grew up here might understand and laugh at, but someone from a different country may look at you like, oh, are they joking, or are they being sarcastic? Like, is it being for real? So you kind of learn how to maneuver that way, where some things may be touchy to someone else that it might not be for another person. So definitely learning how to interact with different people, and just getting understanding for what they believe in, what kind of person they are. And I find all that stuff really interesting. I'm a people reader, so um, I like to just interact with people and kind of see where their brain is.
Makes a lot of sense. You've had a few years now here at AIC, worked with a bunch of different teams. What are some of the more memorable moments you've had? And it doesn't have to necessarily be specifically related to athletic training; it could just be anything with the teams here at AIC.
Well, a few things. I always love like our Florida trips with softball. That's always a nice little getaway during like spring break time. Always have a good time with that group. Um, the Canada trip with men's soccer was great. That was my first time ever going to Canada, and to be with such a diverse group as well, and just being in a different country, it was just like it was a great experience, something I'll never forget. And then the soccer playoff at Adelphi, that game where we beat them in extra time, that was just like that's the kind of rush that you get from athletics that you can't get from anywhere else. Just like that, everyone was just so pumped, so excited. The energy was crazy. The women's soccer team was there supporting us. Um, so to be away at a school like that and just feel like you're at home and everyone's just going crazy, it was a great experience.
Yeah, I was there for that. I remember that one. That was unbelievable goal by the Yellow Jackets to win with Jake Durham, his second of the game. That bicycle kick, the overtime.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
might have
mean,
ran on the field. I don't even know if I'm allowed to do that, but
well, not now.
yeah, not now, but at that time, yeah, I couldn't help it. It was just like ran out there with the guys, and it was a great moment.
Yeah, I'm quite frankly actually kind of surprised that the women's team didn't run out onto the field themselves. Of course, they pulled off their own upset the next day too, which was really cool to see.
Right.
Um, so in any profession, I know it's certainly true for us here in athletic communications, and definitely with you guys with everything being science based. Continuing education is so critical. What's something that you're working on learning to improve yourself as an athletic trainer?
Um, so I'm trying to work on more of like soft tissue techniques. Really getting hands on with certain things. You know, certain muscles respond better to kind of like a manual therapy type of thing, and I want to just be better at that and trying to expand ways that I can treat my athletes. Cupping has been pretty big in athletics over the last few years, so I mean, learning more techniques involving that, I think, is something I definitely want to get into, and something that actually Jess Renero has done with us or done recently is dry needling. It's very expensive, of course, but that's something that eventually I want to like at least look into and maybe get some experience with that. Hopefully, maybe I could pick her brain about it too. But and then just always finding ways to diagnose and evaluate. I mean, there's tests that are used every day, and some better than others. And I'm still a fairly new athletic trainer, so I still want to trying to find ways that get the best results, like the tests that do the best things for my athletes. So um, just about getting better every day and trying to do it that way, learning.
What are some of the resources that you look toward if you feel like I need to know more about this? Where do you turn to try to find that information?
I mean, articles are always like peer-reviewed articles are always a good source, like on PubMed. Um, you know, Journal of Sports Medicine, things like that. Ncaa always has, which is the National Athletic Training Association, and they always have great articles that are progressive and the newest of the newest. So they always keep you up to date. So I always like to go there to find some sources, and also I like Stack.com as far as like learning exercises or um, techniques they make it very like plain and simple for athletes where you're not using all this medical terminology, but it's pretty straightforward. But there's also some good information. They teach you things for like nutrition, how to recover after games and practices, and like I said, getting new exercises that I could challenge my athletes with.
This last year has obviously been unlike anything any of us have ever really had to deal with before. What have you learned about your profession during the coronavirus pandemic, and what have you learned about yourself in dealing with the situation that we're still in here a year later?
I mean, I think resilience is one of the first words that come to my head. I mean, just in athletics as a whole, we were shut down for so long that it kind of just felt like weird. It wasn't normal life. So the fact that we can, work so hard to find ways around that and still do the things that we love and, provide for our athletes as well. I think that's been a huge thing that AIC has done. I know a lot of schools in the NE10 haven't even, they didn't continue any seasons. They kind of just shut down completely. So for AIC as a whole to, do things through testing and being so regular with it and educating the athletes on like what to do, what not to do, and just being strict in that sense, I think has been huge for us and just AIC as a community, especially for the athletes as well. Well, they come here obviously to be students, but they also want to play their sport, and for us to make that happen, I think was huge for everyone.
Let's get to know you a little bit more. We've talked a little bit at the beginning about your love of basketball. Who's your pick for the NCAA championship Division One that's coming up? I know You know, it's easy to go, okay, Gonzaga on the men's side, UConn on the women's side. Give us the Chris Caban breakdown. Who's going to win it all?
Well, since I'm from Connecticut, the women. I gotta say UConn for the women for sure. Paige Buchers is a beast, and I don't see anyone stopping them, to be honest. And we've also had quite of a drought the last couple of years, so I think the UConn women's is gonna get back in the mix. And to be honest, my men's answer is really boring too, and I'm gonna say UConn.
Really?
We're back in the tournament after 4 years or so. We're a 7th seed, and the last time we won it was as a 7th seed. So I'm gonna go lucky number 7. I think the UConn team is all you gotta do is get hot. You don't have to be the best team, but if you could put it together for a few weeks, then that's really all it takes. And I've seen them do it before, and I hope they do it again.
So he's going with the double UConn. Let's
Yep.
we'll find out in a couple weeks. You're also a big music guy. I know that
Yes.
from conversations with you, from being friends with you on Facebook. What's hot on your playlist right now, and who's an artist that you like that people might not expect based on your general taste in music?
It's tough. I guess on the playlist, I mean, I kind of gravitate more to like the old stuff that I know. I'm always find myself just playing back on stuff to Kanye West, Jay-Z, things of that nature. As far as that's you call me with a tricky one. I'm really into like 70s rock, and
Right.
I don't think most people would expect that looking at me, but I love like Jimi Hendrix, the Eagles, the Doors, stuff like that, and that genre, that kind of like psychedelic rock music. I'm a huge fan of that, and I know most people look at me and probably wouldn't expect that at all or guess that, but I'm really big on that, especially lately.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with going from Jay-Z to the Doors. It's
Oh yeah, the shuffle on my playlist is nuts. It's like I said, one day is some hardcore or trap rap music, and then I'm listening to R&B, and then some rock music. It's all over the place.
I think I'm pretty similar in that regard. I confused everybody in the room one time going from Elton John to Slayer back to back on my music, just playing stuff I have on my computer on shuffle. It's like, what? So,
That's how it gotta be. You gotta keep. I love diversity, and I love picking from different walks of life, and music's not different.
That's actually just what I was just about to say, is that you have goes back to what we were talking about earlier about being able to learn from different cultures and different groups of people. It's all in the end comes back to that. So other than sports and music, because I mean we could talk about both of those things for forever, what's something that you're into or something that you do in your free time?
I mean, as of late, I'm a pretty boring guy. I can't lie. I still like exercising, so just getting to the gym, just being active in some sort of way physically, whether it be like a pickup game of basketball, which haven't been able to really do much of lately because of COVID, but that was always something I was into, like flag football leagues. I guess it all ties back into sports and music in a way, but I also like just like art. I was big on drawing when I was a kid. In the pandemic, I found myself just doing like various small like art projects, whether it's like painting or drawing or stuff of that sense. Also just like putting things together, like building things. My girlfriend's always giving me like a task to do, put this thing together, put a shelf up, put this. So I don't mind doing that stuff as well. But honestly, everything always ties back to sports and music for me, and that's just sometimes the things you love, you just can't put them aside. They just tie in your life in some sort of way.
Yeah, I would have a hard time with that question because I mean, what do you mean other than sports? So the last question, and this is the one we ask everybody that comes on here, other than your parents, who is someone in your life who's had a significant influence on you and how did they shape who you are as a person?
So the first person that would come to my mind would be my older cousin Joey. I look at him as like an older brother. He's like 9 years older than me, so he's always been like an adult figure in my life. And even as when I was 9, he was 18, and he would always just come hang out with me, even as a young, like an older teenager. Like, you don't want to be seen with a younger kid or hanging out with like, your little cousin, but he'd always come by, pick me up. I got a lot of my love for music from him, as well as sports. He just always kind of showed me the ropes, and I would say I'm kind of like a mini version of what he is now. So it's kind of fun to look at. I mean, you never think of how your life is being shaped when you're a kid until you actually get older and you can reflect back on it. And I would say he was definitely like one of the main influences in my life for sure.
Having a good older cousin is definitely a good influence to have, and it's true for me as well. So definitely feel that answer. Chris, appreciate you coming on, doing this with us today. It's great to get to know you a little bit better. I guess I'm going to add in one last question. What are you most looking forward to, like a game or a sport this spring?
I mean, I'm looking forward to softball season. I mean, we had our first two games this past weekend, and both of them, close, exciting games. I think we have a good group, and I look forward to, what they can put together going forward. Hasn't been the greatest, I guess, in the past couple of years. I think this group has a chance to really turn that around with all our young players. Very exciting. So I'm definitely looking forward to how this season develops. And just getting back to game mode. I mean, we've been doing all these practices, and, there's nothing like a game day. You just feel it in the air. So it's just fun to get back in that environment for sure.
Yeah, no doubt this softball team has got the potential to be special. Well, Chris, again, thank you for doing this. Appreciate your time, getting to know you more, and looking forward to seeing you out there on the diamond and working with our athletes.
Yeah, thank you, Seth, for inviting me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
This has been another episode of the Yellow Jacket Experience. Keep your eyes peeled on our YouTube page and all our social medias. More episodes will be coming forward for you in the next week.